Hello, this is Glenn Guyton, your cultural futurist and keynote speaker, helping you to unlock the power of your people. My goal is to equip you with effective strategies to foster a culture of innovation, reduce workplace stress, and elevate team performance. Hey, there are a few things that I want to share with you today as we think about the future of work, as we think about the future workforce, as we think about the changing demographics in the workforce. There are a few things that we need to pay attention to. Now, one thing is for certain. The workplace is changing. Demographics are changing. And often we don't know what to do about it. So we have these meetings, you invite speakers like me out to talk about the changes. We're bringing in people from different backgrounds into the workplace. We're concerned about immigrants entering the workplace. We're still fighting for equality in a number of different areas. And it seems like maybe even our values are changing as we think about the current workforce and what's going to be happening in the future. So how do we work well together? That's the main question, right? I mean, we have other questions when it comes to the workforce of the future, but I think we're all assuming that we're going to get the people that we need. Now, there's some skill training and some other things that we'll need to make sure happens in order to make sure we have a qualified workforce. But what happens once you bring those people into the workplace? How are you going to unlock the full potential of your team members? And so I want to give you 5 tips that I really want you to think about when it comes to good team dynamics and a healthy workplace. Now, I post a number of videos online, social media, and one of the questions I get is, well, what about this DEI stuff? Companies don't really care about it. It's just a fad. And maybe some of the terminology is faddy. That's not what I want to talk to you about today. I want you to be intentional about the strategies that you employ in order for you to get the desired outcome. So there's a gap. There's an intention gap, right? Based on our actions and what we hope. And there's some balance that we have to figure out. How do we get our actions to line up with our desired outcomes? And part of that is being aware of the changing circumstances, because our actions may need to change based on the situation or the circumstances to get the desired outcome. That's what we're doing when we're doing all of this strategic planning. We're doing all this training. We learn a lot of actions, and we don't often get the outcomes that we want because we don't pay attention to the situation, the things that are changing in between. And so leaders have to actively bridge the gap between good intentions and effective actions to unlock the full potential of their diverse team. So that's the first thing, bridging the intention gap. How do we do that? And so you have to have intentional strategies that ensure inclusivity, equity, and aren't just goals, right? You can't just have these goals, but you have to have practices embedded in your organization to give you the desired outcomes, and the practices have to change and be flexible based on the condition. So that's number 1. Number 2 is intentional action. Yes, you have to be intentional about what you're going to do. Effective management requires deliberate and consistent actions that promote the desired outcomes. And diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, those are all values. Get away from the acronym. Think about the values that you want. Think about the intentional actions. I think that will help you moving forward. In fact, I know it will. The intentionality helps to create an environment where all team members feel valued and where you as a leader are really clear on what the desired behaviors are, those intentional actions. We're going to do X, Y, and Z. I use an example of me jumping out of an airplane. There's a 10-second sequence that I utilized when I jumped out of an airplane at the Air Force Academy. 10-second sequence. I do the count in my head. you know, jump 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, look 1,000, pull 1,000, check 1,000. There's a specific deliberate sequence that you go through as part of the process of trying to save your life. And so as you think about the activities and the systems that you set in place in your organization, people have to know what the expectations are. There have to be sound processes and procedures in place in an organization for you to get the most out of your teams. And then as you think about bringing in new people, you may have to adapt or change some of those processes based on who is in your workplace, who's on your team. Next is integrated accountability. I like to equate that with building trust. There are so many things that have to go right in an organization for you to get the perfect outcome. And we often don't get the perfect outcome because things change so much. We don't have trust on our teams. People have to trust one another. And if you're having people from different backgrounds, different understandings, it's going to be harder for them to trust one another. But as the stakes get higher, it's important that the level of trust increases. And it also means holding people accountable. As you think about this environment that we're living in, sometimes diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging isn't equated with accountability, but it should be. There should be accountability at every level of your organization. You have this gap, this intention gap, right? You have your actions and you have the desired outcomes. How are you holding people accountable at every phase of the process? Holding people accountable is critical, and people need to know what to expect. And that is one of the things when you're building trust. People want you to be consistent. They want you to be reliable. They want you to have their best interests at heart. That's a part of building trust and a part of having effective teams and allowing you to accomplish your mission effectively and efficiently. Now, as we think about these new teams, what type of diversity do you need? I want you to leverage diversity for innovation. Diverse teams can bring a wide variety of perspectives that can drive innovation, and make sure you don't have a narrow interpretation of diversity. Is not just about race and gender or sexuality. No, we need to think more broadly as we're bringing in people from different backgrounds, different schools, different experiences, different career fields. So if you are in a career such as landscape architecture, you may need people from an engineering background. You may need people from an artistic background. You may need people from architectural background. Make sure you're bringing in the right diversity to help you close that gap between what you want to happen with your actions and what actually happens with your actions. You want to close that gap. You want your actions to be deliberate in such a manner that you get the desired outcome. And this is going to be important as the workforce shifts. You're going to have to look at new places to find the diversity that you need. Next, number 5, thing that we all have to pay attention to is this continuous learning and adaptation. As the work environment changes, so will our practices have to change. Our intentional actions will have to change and adapt based on new circumstances. Managing diverse teams effectively involves ongoing learning and adapting to new challenges. I don't know what all those challenges are. This is when you bring in a futurist to help you understand different scenarios. Scenario planning is important. Going back to my analogy of jumping out of planes, one of the things that you do before you jump out of the plane, the jump master throws out these woodies. These are wooden sticks with little flags on them. They throw a woody out of the plane, WDI, wind direction indicator, so that they know where to tell a pilot to fly. And wind conditions change. And so those woodies help the jump master understand if the wind is blowing, east to west, north to south, how the wind is blowing. Because once you jump out of the plane, the wind's going to carry you. The wind's going to carry you where it wants you to go. And so you have to get things positioned based on the way that the wind is blowing. And so as we think about trends, things that are happening, those trends will inform you of what intentional actions you need to take. We don't have to be afraid of it. We don't have to be afraid of change, but we want to adapt to the change before it occurs. You see, when you leave an aircraft, you have to be upwind, right? So that the wind pushes you to your desired direction. And that's what we want to do. We want to be pushed to our desired direction through intentionality, building trust in our organization, understanding where the environment and the climate is pushing us. We want to be ahead of that so that we can flow into the right direction and be prepared for the here and now. Well, hopefully those things are helpful as you think about working with your current team and maybe as you start to build for the future. So as I close, let's not forget that better leaders get better results. So to every one of you leading the charge for a more supportive and engaging workplace, I leave you with this: stay bold, stay inspired, and remember that your actions today shape the culture of tomorrow. My name is Glenn Guyton. You all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day.